Today we're going to replace the fan shroud and install a fan clutch. All right, today in the Anything Scout Garage Tech Tip, we are going to install, or this could also be used for replacing, the fan shroud and mechanical fan clutch. Now this Scout has, I just bought this Scout, original 304 engine, has a mechanical fan, has a fixed fan, so a non-clutched fan, and it has no fan shroud. So a fan shroud is very important for proper cooling of your Scout. It is a must. Don't go without one. So anyway, we're gonna show you what you need to do in a simple step-by-step installation and conversion. Okay, so before you get started, we talked about the tools that you're gonna need. Well, we didn't talk about it yet, but you're gonna want a ratchet wrench 7/16. I like to use a 1/4 inch drive 7/16. A ratchet wrench 1/2 inch, very important. Just a 3/8 drive 1/2 inch. That should be all we need. Now, just a quick point. There's two styles of water pumps. There's this style, which is classified as a non-fan clutch style. And you see all these bolts right here. And then there's a one nut style. Yeah, cue the nut joke. So the one nut style, like my buddy in high school, has a large nut right here and has a threaded shaft. That will not work, and those fan clutches, to my knowledge, are not available. So what I've always done is convert it to this style water pump, which is available on the website. So we're gonna assume that you have this style water pump. And this is the fan that you wanna use. There's like 3 or 4 different styles of fans. This is a 7-blade. This is the one that I like. You'll see the one we're gonna take off is a 5-blade non-clutch. And think about it, water crossing, just something tweaks. That fan is spinning with the motor. So the only thing that's gonna stop is if the belt slips. But this has some give because this hub goes like this. And a quick note, if you're doing a fan shroud, but not a clutch necessarily, you can just feel this. If it should have some tension, but you should be able to move it. If this is all loose and you can grab this and spin the fan, then your clutch is no good. And this is a lot of reasons why Scouts overheat, is because they don't have a shroud. Very important. This is a brand new fan clutch. Feels tight. For this project, we are just going to use a used fan clutch and fan. These fans are not available brand new, so you have to find them, but a lot of the good Scout dealers can get you one of those. A good time to replace a fan shroud is when you're doing either the motor mounts or the body bushings. And if you have new body bushings but old motor mounts, you're gonna find that like the fan will likely hit the shroud because those things move together. On this particular truck, the body mounts are kind of old and squashed and the motor mounts are old and squashed, so the whole thing will settle together. But you understand that new motor mounts lift the motor up, old body mounts hold the body down. New body bushings lift the body up. So you want to do those, think about all those things together. And that is why I've started with a master list. This is all this stuff. I just bought this truck. This is all this stuff that I know I need to do. We don't need to get into it right now. Okay, so there are 4 bolts on the front of the fan that we're going to use this ratchet wrench to take off. One cool thing about Internationals is the pulleys are independent from the fan. So like on a Chevy, the fan bolts hold the pulley to the water pump. We don't have that. So we can leave our fan belt tight, and that'll keep the fan from spinning. We'll just take these 4 bolts out.
Busted.
Yeah, the fan shroud focuses the air through the radiator, and it maximizes the efficiency of the fan. Without a shroud, a lot of the air just gets like blown around everywhere. With a shroud, it pulls it through the radiator. And I've seen, man, 20 degrees difference between trucks with a shroud and without a shroud. Plus you're picking up efficiency with a 7-blade over a 5. And you're getting some horsepowers back, dude, by putting a clutch on there. We all know these old 345s and 304s need the horsepower. Okay, big moment. There is the old fan. You see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're gonna chuck this, and here comes the tricky part. So, here's our shroud. It's also important to know where the top of the shroud is. I know this is the top because I just know what they look like, but I've seen people put them in upside down. Don't be that guy or gal. So, what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna test fit the shroud to make sure that I can fit it in here. Okay, that was pretty easy. Just gotta push around this hose a little bit. Okay, so I know that the shroud is gonna fit now. But now the difficult part is I gotta do that same thing with the fan in my hand. So I'm gonna just raise the shroud up. I'm gonna fit this fan down in here. And the fortunate thing, there's this little pilot hole right here, and there's a nub on the front of the water pump that kind of helps hold it all in place. Okay, oh, another thing I should have done, bro, this is massive error of judgment, is we gotta line up the holes. I'm gonna try to get this shroud in. This is difficult, dude. There we go. So I wish that's where we left off. We test fit the shroud, that went in fine. Then we pulled the shroud slightly out, fit the fan in. Then you have to align the fan clutch holes with the holes in the water pump. So what I did was kind of felt with my finger, because you can't see anything, and then started rotating it basically, you know, clockwise until I felt the bolt engage with the hole, and then got it started. So now I've got that snug so it can't fall down anymore. Now we're just gonna go install all 4 of these bolts. So you can see I have 2 of them started. Once you get that started, now you're gonna go to your open end wrench and just get a couple turns on there so that they don't fall out. Don't tighten them all the way down yet, just get them kind of snug enough. Now we'll see if we can get the ratchet wrench portion on there. And we can, so that is nice. So again, I'm just gonna snug these 2 up. All right, so we got all 4 bolts. It wasn't easy. The tricky part is gonna be like trying to rotate the motor to get so that you're working from the top, so that these bolts are always kind of at the top. So I started with them just snug, and now I'm gonna go through all 4 and tighten them down. And what you can do is just put a wrench on the crankshaft bolt to spin the motor. Okay, so I'm gonna tighten all these down. I don't know the torque spec. I'm gonna call it, if you've watched my other videos, Snug Plus, which is like just get it snug, crack it down. You don't wanna have these loose by any means. You don't want your fan flying off. Okay. And then our next step will be to bolt the shroud down, buddy. We're getting close. I think we're like 2/3 of the way through. So I'll finish tightening these and then we'll get going on the shroud. So if you have a fan shroud that was just broken, you'll likely be able to just reuse the hardware. In my situation, my fan shroud was missing and so was the hardware. So we have the hardware. These are 5/8 inch quarter 20 bolts with a flat washer. You could use a lock washer as well. And then we're gonna switch to our 7/16 ratchet wrench and our 7/16 quarter inch drive. Sweet little ratchet. So it's basically pretty simple at this point. We're just gonna align the holes. This part's real easy, man. The actual shroud part is like half a wrench, dude. It's so easy. Just don't use, listen, pro tip number 2.
Nice.
Don't use bolts that are too long because they will go through and they'll penetrate, puncture the core inside there. So make sure you use short bolts. Gonna get it lined up, get the thread started. Bam. As always, just get these started. Don't let them get tight because you want to align the rest of them. This one's the toughest. You got to kind of compress it a little bit, but it's still easy, man. So, pro tip number 3. This is when you want to get your friends or your wife or your kids out and be like, because the part with the fan is kind of embarrassing and hard. I dropped the fan like 5 times down to the radiator. But this part, you're like, hey man, it's just wrapping things up. I'm gonna hop underneath the truck now on my trusty piece of cardboard. What's up? So check this out, bolt goes right here. Just kind of feel it out there. I'm actually gonna do this side first. Always get them started by hand. And while you're under here, inspect things. Look at your oil pan, look at this bent old drag link. That's on my list. Make sure the pulleys are good. You know, stuff like that. I'm gonna do a little technique that I learned back in the 80s. Sometimes it's hard to start bolts. If you use your ratchet wrench, you can kind of hold the nut with your finger. So I'm putting a straight aligned pressure with my finger and then putting the ratchet wrench and allowing it to start. So I'm feeling it and it's feeling good. Don't want to cross thread junk. And now I can tighten all these bolts. These are just snug. You don't want to go crazy tightening these because it will crack if you over tighten it. So, okay, that's it. Okay, so we're just gonna finish by snugging up our top bolts. Very easy. Then, very important step, we're gonna check for clearance. So see, I don't have any clearance issues, so that's good. If you hear any noises, now's your time to stop. Thank you for joining us in the Anything Scout Tech Tip Garage. This has been a fan shroud, fan clutch replacement. Thank you for watching. Thanks for your support. It's very important to educate the community, so pass it on. Like, subscribe, all that kind of good stuff. And thanks for watching and happy wrenching. Find the fan clutch. Dang. Oh, geez. I got it.